Hey, SVGers, welcome back for another edition of the SVG New Sponsor Spotlight Series, introducing you to some of the leading technology companies in the space today that have joined the SVG family. We're pleased to welcome Wesco Broadcast. We are joined by their SVP Global Enterprise, AV and Broadcast, Phil Langley. Phil, wonderful to see you. Thanks
Hey,
so much for
Brandon.
taking the time, and welcome aboard to you and the company.
Hey, Brandon. Listen, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, really appreciate it. So, Phil, let's start off with the basics. Can you give us your perspective regarding what you see as kind of the broadcast industry trends that are key top of mind for you and the company right now, especially as it pertains as we look forward over the next couple of years?
Yeah, look, I think evolution is the word, or at least evolving. A couple of areas here that I'll touch on. One is technology is evolving or migrating or articulating onto the network. I think
Mhm.
that not just broadcast focus. We're lucky enough to work with lots of disciplines, and we're seeing that across the board. So really, I guess in the broadcast sense, that's SDI up onto the network. Why that's significant is because we can do more with less infrastructure, and it's really consistent with what's happening in the industry. So we're really leaning into that, of course. The others relates to streaming, which is not such a leap away from network. And I you can tell by my silly accent, I tend to stream from different countries. And you may not think this, but commercials as a revenue source for streamers is a new thing, which we're seeing. Now, they don't tend to get the timing that right. It's halfway through the show, an ad will pop up, but streaming's a big part of so commercial is a big part of streaming. The other part is large streamers, and this one's probably the most significant, like Amazon and Apple. Those guys are bidding and winning large sporting events like NFL and here, and in the UK it's the EPL. So lots of change. I think it's fantastic for the industry, new players, and as I said before, we're really leaning in.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for the industry for sure. Can you give our audience a sense of what makes Wesco Broadcast stand out from, let's say, your competition right now? What makes you guys stand out in the marketplace?
I think the combination of expertise and scale. Look, we're a Fortune 200 organization. We're in 54 countries, 300 cities,
Mhm.
100 warehouses. So we have a really large infrastructure, but we have the ability to laser focus that down in specific regions. We've also got long-standing relationships with industry stalwarts, be that manufacturers, be that end users, or the really important system integrators that sit in between all that. We have broadcast engineers on staff that are available as required globally to help with projects or with design as required. So I think it's that scale coupled to the expertise that really sets us aside.
All right. Well, let's get to the good stuff. Products and services that Wesco Broadcast offers in its portfolio. Give us a brief overview of some of the highlights. What are the things that are really exciting that you guys are working on right now?
Yeah, I think in terms of disciplines within the broadcast area or areas of business that we work in, there really isn't any that we don't work in. It's production, whether that's studios, whether that's stadia and the infrastructure that's required in the stadia, and even the Pro AV that's required as well, like the back of house and front of house Pro AV, concessions, customer interaction, and then OB vans. So there really isn't anything that we don't have expertise in and aren't actively supporting today, Brandon.
hmm Yeah, as you kind of mentioned, Wesco as a broad company does a lot. So for the SVG community specifically, can you maybe give us an example or two of how your products and services have really helped someone out in the marketplace right now?
Yeah, look, I'd love to give names out here, but I like to brag, but we're not allowed to. But
Yeah.
I can tell you that we are very close to being the number one provider of infrastructure to one of the US's largest broadcast organizations for TV and radio. So that's we've worked really hard on that one, and we're really happy with it. But we've been helping like broadcast and radio in terms of supply and support for a long time across the breadth of the US. We're also involved with a lot of sporting organizations and all the broadcast infrastructure that's around those. So the NFL, the NBA, college football, and the infrastructure for those guys. So look, Brandon, we've got the expertise, we've got the ability, we've got the wherewithal, we have a commitment to the customer. We think second to none. And if we're not working with you already, we really would like to.
Yeah, we certainly sign off on that. We look forward to seeing you all do a whole heck of a lot more, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time and for being a part of the SVG community. Phil, thanks so much for taking the time today to catch us a little bit on what you guys.
And I got to say, I can see Jets in the background, so go Jets.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. That's the first positive reaction I've gotten.
Well, there's a couple of us.
All right, Phil, appreciate it. He is
Thanks,
Phil
man.
Langley. He is the SVP Global Enterprises AV and Broadcast for Wesco. Learn more about Wesco Broadcast now over at our site at sportsvideo.org, and we'll see you next time on our SVG New Sponsor Spotlight.